Tonight, a tiny insect will kill someone. Not a lion, not a shark, not a snake, a mosquito, the deadliest animal that has ever existed by an enormous margin. It is estimated that mosquitoes, through the diseases they carry, may have killed more humans than any other single cause in our entire history. Some scientists think they have a hand in nearly half of all human deaths, ever. Now imagine facing that with no screens, no spray, no medicine, and no idea what is even happening. How did ancient humans survive the mosquito? The first thing to understand is that, in a sense, they did not. For most of human history, the mosquito won. Malaria and other mosquito-borne diseases were a constant grinding presence. They killed infants, weakened adults, and shaped where humans could and could not live. Whole regions of the planet were effectively walls of disease that our ancestors could not safely settle. The mosquito did not just bite humanity, it steered it. But our ancestors were not helpless. They could not see the enemy clearly, but they could see its effects, and they fought back in three ways: with their bodies, with their behavior, and, eventually, with their blood itself. Start with behavior, because that came first. Ancient humans noticed, without knowing the mechanism, that smoke keeps biting insects away. A smoldering fire at the mouth of a cave or in the center of a camp was not just for warmth and cooking. It was a mosquito shield. Communities across the world independently discovered that certain plants thrown on the fire drove the insects off. They noticed that the bugs were worse near still water and at dusk and in the wet season, so they timed their movements, placed their camps on breezy high ground, and slept near the smoke. Some cultures smeared mud or animal fat or fragrant plant oils onto their skin, forming a crude barrier and masking the smell that draws mosquitoes in. The ancient Egyptians, plagued by mosquitoes along the Nile, are recorded sleeping under nets, one of the oldest pieces of anti-mosquito technology we know of. None of them knew that the insect carried a parasite. They simply learned the habits of an enemy they could barely see and built their lives around avoiding it. But the deepest defense was not a choice at all. It was written into the body. In places where malaria was relentless, evolution did something brutal and brilliant. A genetic change appeared that altered the shape of red blood cells, the very cells the malaria parasite invades. With this change, the parasite struggled to thrive. People who carried it were far more likely to survive malaria and have children. There is a terrible cost. Inherit that gene from both parents and you get sickle cell disease, a serious and painful condition. But inherit it from just one, and you gain powerful protection against malaria at a survivable price. So, in the most mosquito-ravaged regions on Earth, this gene spread, because the math of survival demanded it. The disease was so deadly that a dangerous defense was still better than none. Your ancestors' bodies were quietly at war with the mosquito for thousands of generations, and the scars of that war are still carried in human DNA today. Think about what that means. The mosquito is so powerful that it did not just change human behavior. It changed the human genome. It reached into our blood and rewrote it. There are few clearer signs of how desperate the struggle was. And the struggle is not over. For all our screens and sprays and medicines, the mosquito still kills hundreds of thousands of people every single year, almost all of them from malaria, most of them children. We have pushed it back in much of the world, but we have never beaten it. The oldest enemy of humankind is still out there. So tonight, when you hear that thin, high whine in the dark and slap at the air, you are repeating a gesture older than language. Your ancestors heard the same sound, by the same firelight, and felt the same flash of dread. They could not name the enemy, but they spent 100,000 years learning to live in its shadow, with smoke and nets, and finally with their own blood. And against the deadliest creature in the history of the world, they survived just long enough to become us. Now you know.